I'm Kirk Freeman with learningthebasics.info. We'll be using the ASSE approved one hose test procedure to certify this RP backflow device. First thing I do when I get to the job site is inform management that they will be without water for the duration of the test. Then I identify that this is the device that I am to be certifying. Serial number, maker, the model. Then I do a quick visual inspection for leaks, cracks, missing bolts, parts. Then we determine if this device is ready to be tested using your test gauge. It has two shutoff valves. Its test cocks 1, 2, 3, and 4 have the proper test gauge adapters installed. If the device does not have these gauge adapters, you'll have to install them in order to use your gauge. This one looks like it's set up for testing, so let's get started with our test. The first thing we do is we flush our test cocks, starting with test cock 4. We open, flush, and leave trickle. Test cock 3. We open, flush, and fully close. Test cock 2. Open, flush, fully close. Test cock 1. Open, flush, fully close. We go back to test cock 4 and fully close it. Now we're ready to attach our test gauge. The only valve on your 5-valve gauge that needs to be open is your high bleed valve. We go to test cock 2. Open to a trickle. We attach our high pressure hose. You can see the gauge is starting to rise. Air is being bled out of the gauge. Air in the gauge will give you a wrong reading. Slowly turn up your test cock. You do not want to slam your gauge. It could cause damage. Once it is at the top, fully open test cock 2. Once you see a steady stream with no air, close your high bleed valve. Now we're ready to test the device. We need to isolate the device. Go to test cock 3. Open it till the water stops flowing. It's fully opened. It's at 10. Higher than 1, check valve 1 passes. Now we're going to test the relief valve. To do this, you put your hand underneath the relief valve. We will slowly let off pressure, and when you feel the first few drops of water, shut your bleed valve off and take a reading. .3, check valve passes. Now we want to test to see if it's functioning properly, and we'll drop out all the water when the pressure is lost. To do that, we release all the pressure in our gauge and look for the water to dump out, which it did. Relief valve passes. We close test cock 3. We close test cock 2. We return pressure to the device. Remove our high pressure test hose. Go to test cock 3. Open it, trickle. Add your high pressure test hose. Gauge is starting to rise. It's bleeding out the air. Slowly increase it as not to damage the gauge. Once it's at 15, we fully open test cock 3. When we get a good steady stream of water with no air, we shut off our high bleed valve. Isolate the system. Test cock 4 open till the water stops flowing. Fully open test cock 4 before you take your reading. 3.8 greater than 1. Check valve 2 passes. You want to close test cock 4. Test cock 3. Bleed off our pressure in our gauge. Slowly return pressure to the device. When we get ready to repressurize your customer's system, we slowly open the valve until the system is pressurized, and then we fully open the valve. Remove our high pressure test hose. Our paperwork would show check valve 1 pass, check valve 2 pass, relief valve pass, and is functional. I would certify this device operational and put it back in service.